thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing. And today I have been trying to plan something to do with leftover fabric. Apparently I have a dog collar bandana in my fabric stash. I don't have it put in there. This is a little baby bishop gown that I had smocked, or actually pleated, and I haven't finished. This was from a very, very long time ago. I got smocking and a row of beads on that sleeve, smocking and a row of beads on that sleeve, and it looks like smocking and I've got pearls and then glass beads under the pearls. I don't even know if that's showing up in this awful lighting. But basically, it looks to me that I was in the process of, I remember. I was going to do, so I did a heart, I kind of think maybe the lighting might be the problem. Let's do this. I think that might be better. So there's a heart outline right here, and I was going to do some shadow embroidery and some other types of silk ribbon embroidery in there. So there's another project, and then basically all that would be left to do would be to do up these two side seams on each side, finish off the placket, put on the neckband, and hem it. So anyway, I'm hanging on to that. I'm hanging on to this. I love this fabric. It's also part of, I think it's David Textiles. Yeah, and one of the other fabrics that I purchased with it had peacocks and all of these flowers and these colors. It was really pretty. This right here is a fabric that I have had probably over 30 years, and I'm over it. I am so over that fabric. I have been looking at it for so long, and that happens, and it's okay. Somebody else can use that. This is a cotton broadcloth that I would never get rid of. I just don't know why. I can't quite figure out why these white pieces are in with these. I must have just been kind of in a hurry putting stuff away one day, because I try to keep my white fabrics out of the bin that all other colors are in. I don't want the discoloration of, if something were to get wet, in other words, I wouldn't want this to get ruined. This is part of a jelly roll that I used. I made a makeup bag for a friend of mine and a few other things, and I really like that fabric. And there's some more horse fabric. And again, I'm just kind of done. I mean, I might come back to horse fabric, but not for now. There's another piece of that beautiful batiste. And there's that. And the horseshoes. I think I can give up the horseshoes. I honestly have horseshoes myself to death. Okay, this is black, kind of a heavyweight twill. So there's that. This is a piece of wool flannel that I had purchased a long time ago, and I made my son-in-law in Oregon a phone case out of this. I have no idea. It must have been practicing or checking stitching length or something on this, which I will trim away and save the fabric for something else. Basically what happened is I changed my mind. I'm going to be putting this donate fabric into a cardboard box like that, and I'm going to be going through more donate or keep. And here's more. Lots more of the apple fabric that I've had forever. So it's easier to go through them. This is a rather large piece. Something big could be made from that. So I probably will go back. All right, this is a project, and I have a special project box, so it's not going to go back in here with the other fabric. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it was in there to begin with. So I have been making bags to store a lot of stuff in to help organize my sewing room, but this isn't really helpful because it's on my sewing table, and what I need like a shelf, something that these can reside on so that they're within, close reach. They still look cute in these little fabric baskets, but they're not on my sewing table. That's the problem. Alright, these are all of the, not all of the feet, but the feet that I use the most with my Bernina are in this little box. So I like to keep it where I can get to it. Whether it's on this table or next to the sewing machine. As long as I can reach it, I'm happy. Okay, so this, I don't know. It's bobbins, that's thread. These are my rulers. This stays on the table. This I'm going to talk about in a moment. And all of the rest of these guys are just going to have to go. So, alright, so what I think I'm going to do is make a needle book using some of my favorite little squares of fabric. And then I'll have a little teeny tiny needle book. Okay guys, so I'm taking these little squares. They're all similarly sized. Not accurately, but they're all within basically the same range. And I'm just going to kind of stitch them together. My goal at the end of the day here is a small little patchwork that I can make a little needle book out of. Okay, so what I have is this right here. These are two pieces of fabric stitched together, right sides together, and I'm just going to snip these apart. The pieces are small enough that they're really not going to fight you. If they were larger pieces, you might have a harder time, getting that seam pressed without the use of heat. When you're a creative person, having something like this to work on and to do is often very important to keeping you, just mentally happy and good. Okay, so with all of these little pieces basically finger pressed, now we have an option here. We have how do we put this together? Are we going to stitch them in another long line and then pull that apart? Or are we going to stitch them this way with the seam running down the middle? And I don't like that, so I think I am going to go 2 by 2 like this, and I'm going to stitch on the on this end. I'm not going to stitch across the seam. And again, I'm just going to finger press that center seam, which is where my last stitch was made. So I'm looking very specifically for fabrics that do not match. There might be one in a row that matches, but these two match. So you just kind of have to be a little bit careful and then lock your little seams right along like you would if you were making a quilt. Like that. Finished out. Okay, again, I'm just finger pressing, just pushing out on that middle seam that's running down between these two sections. These together, right sides together, and stitching along one side. Sort of press these down flat so that I can look and see how they're going to look when they're pressed out pretty. I went over and grabbed a piece of fleece and some of these little purple squares that I really like. I have some fleecy fleece that I could probably use. I think I'll use that. And I want the soft side toward the inside of the needle case. Okay, that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim, let's see. Okay, so now I have both of these little squares have been stitched through the, for lack of a better term, the tablecloth pad that I'm using as a padding for my little needle case book. I'm trimming off all the sewing threads. And remember, I only sewed on inside lines. I did not sew around the outside edges. I want to sort of square this up, and it just seemed ridiculous to stitch on the outside only to cut that off. Just get rid of that. Okay, so what I have left is this little guy right here. He still needs to be somehow incorporated. And I think what I'm going to do before I go any further is I'm going to fold him in half like that. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to stitch so that it's straight. That I made from that third piece, and that can either go on the inside like this, or I could put it on the outside. It's a little redundant on the outside unless I chose to go at an angle kind of oddly, but I like the idea of it being on the inside like that, or maybe right in the middle like that. And I'm just going to stitch it down. There will be stitches showing on the outside. I might put, put some buttons there to hide those stitches, or I might let them be visible. I'm going to back stitch here because I want this to be strong. I have a little patchwork pocket on the inside of my needle book. And on the outside of my needle book, I have this darling piece of fabric right here. So let's see, I'm going to cut this little patch off. Okay, so one of the tips that I can give you is when you're working with these little tiny pieces of fabric at the ironing board, so you've got your two ends pressed in like this. And then you've got to move, these two pieces of fabric to the center so that you have a finished piece like that. Move it away from the spot on the ironing board where you were working previously doing the ends, because that part of the ironing board is going to be hot. And it makes it difficult for, it's hot to hold. It's hot to hold on to. I think that is just adorable. I love the way it looks. It doesn't interfere at all with the pocket on the back, and I think it's really cute. And it could, well, no, it can't be because my pocket opens up like this, but you see I have a spot for something small like my little seam ripper. Can go right in there. Okay, I have not squared these up yet. This is the back, and they will need to be matched up and squared up. Fabric was hard to get, so it would have been a letter, someone's letter, which I believe is what led to all these little patches, like it's a stamp or a picture, someone's photograph sewn on. Just a great memory book for so many reasons. Okay, right, and this is honestly, it's just a piece of polyester lace. It is not cotton lace. I would not be able to stand putting cotton lace through something like this. I think I'm gonna leave. So the first page has a lace edge, which I think is kind of charming. this. Okay, there's that side, and here's this side with our little pocket. Oops. There's little pieces of that fabric in this little project. It's a piece of double fold bias tape that I made for a purse. So if I were making it to give to someone or to sell, it would certainly be 100,000 times better designed. But this is just for me to use up little scraps of fabric that I had. Okay, so here's page 1 that will eventually have a bunch of little baubles on it, buttons and charms. And there's the pocket, and in the pocket I can put a seam ripper like this. It just goes right in there. I can put some pins like this. I can put some sewing needles if I want to, which I do. I can also put a few of my clips either on the pocket edge or just on the top. Now if I wanted to, I could make a little band and sew that on there to attach clips to. Okay. So here is my sewing needle. I'm going to go ahead and knot it so I don't lose the thread, and I will put it right here. Bam, my puppy. He does not like rainy days. I don't think any of us do. And then I can use a clip to hold my thread like that. But now I have my little needle book is in here. My needles are not going to stab me when I'm reaching in here to find things. Oh, there's some buttons. So, see, you can put little buttons on your needle books. They look so cute when they're stitched on or glued on. I've seen a lot of people just glue them on. You can glue charms. You can have little, like a string with little charms on the side over here. But the fun thing about it is it's yours, and you can add to it as you go. You can put things in it, put things on it, decorate it, take it with you to class, make it as fancy, as neat, as tidy, or as sloppy and fun as you want. I like the fact that it's in here. All this thread. Goodness me, I don't know what I was thinking. That's the loud drawer right there. Oh, okay. So, basically what I call this little guy right here, this is fearless sewing. It is an opportunity to get creative, not worry that you know, that it's going to be judged. I'm certainly not putting this in a state fair somewhere, but I know I'm going to use it. I know I'm going to love it. I know it has pieces of fabric that I can remember where I got them. I know I love these. I remember when I purchased this. I remember why I purchased this one. I remember making little collars that are slip covers for dog collars out of that for little girl puppies. And my sister's jacket right here. My tote that I made for myself right there. a dress that I made for my youngest daughter here, a bag that I made for my son-in-law's mom here. So you see, this is a fun remembery kind of thing. And it means a lot because I made it with you guys, which I will always remember. So there you go. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, and I will probably be doing a gardening video depending on the weather. If we have another rainy day, likely going to be sewing. I think I might have some fabric coming tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I do have some other sewing projects that I need to get to, and as soon as those fabrics come, then I'll be working on those. But I do want to do a gardening video. I want to talk about how you can use rocks in your garden, how you can use little gravel to top dress pots. If you've got plants that are growing in pots, gravel is a wonderful top dress. And I have a fantastic recipe, you guys, for biscuits with cheddar cheese, fresh basil, lots of fresh basil, paprika, garlic, and onion that will just perfectly complement your garden tomatoes. So if you want a nice light lunch or a brunch, the biscuit recipe is to die for. I made it today. There's just something about all those flavors, but that fresh basil, if you're growing fresh basil, which if you're growing tomatoes, you're probably growing fresh basil. This would be a wonderful complement. It also works well with tomatoes and cucumbers, so you can make really cute little delicious sandwiches with this biscuit recipe. And I will share that with you tomorrow, whether or not I'm doing a gardening video or a sewing video. So get your pen and paper ready, or however it is that you're going to save the recipe. If you like cheddar cheese, basil, paprika, garlic, and onion. And I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe if you wish.